I'm Connor Old, and welcome back to another episode of Old's Oscar Countdown. And this week, we're going to be breaking down the Golden Globe nominations, but for the most part, the Critics' Choice Award nominations, the winners and losers from each category, and what this ultimately means for the Best Picture and Best Acting races. But if you're new to the series, what I do every single week is pretty much this. I dedicate this channel to giving you the most up-to-date, relevant, and accurate Oscar predictions for what's going to get nominated, but also what's going to win. And that means analyzing a lot of these award shows. So some weeks, for the most part, I sort of pick a category and do a deep dive breakdown. We've already done picture and director. I'm going to be updating my Best Picture predictions later in the first week of January. So there's a lot going on in that sense. But for the most part, subscribe to the channel so you get up-to-date, analytical, and informative analysis on the Oscar race. And that's why I've uploaded this video. This week, we're not going to be looking at a category. We're just going to be dedicating the whole video to both the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice nominations. Now, I'm going to start off with Golden Globes because I'm not going to do as much analysis because, frankly, they're less relevant to the Oscar race, particularly this year more than ever. Now, if you're unaware, NBC, the broadcaster of the Golden Globes, has decided not to broadcast their award ceremony this year over ethical allegations and issues with diversity among its voting members. And I think, like I mentioned every year, that the Globe's sort of largest effect on the Oscar race, and ultimately this is an Oscars channel, ultimately, the Globe's effect on the Oscar race is that telecast, that they can get Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio in the same room, and then it's a huge sort of well-watched show, and that people sort of give good speeches, and that can help or decrease. But frankly, for the most part, you have to sort of understand that the Golden Globes is a group of about 100 people, journalists that is, whereas the Academy is, who votes on the Oscars, of course, are thousands of members of people within the industry. So actors and writers and cinematographers versus 100 journalists. There's a huge sort of divide, which is actually why the Critics' Choice Awards, while not members of the industry, is a large enough group that we sort of get a sort of general consensus that we can go based off of. So we don't know necessarily what's going to happen with the Globes this year. I may give a predictions video if they are sort of presenting it in some form, having some sort of dinner or whatnot. But if they're just going to read out their nominations, frankly, because the group doesn't have too much influence, I may not be talking about them again. But I figured because I'm uploading this video already planning on doing it for Critics' Choice and the Golden Globes came out, I thought I'd give a little bit of a mention at the top. So we're going to break both these ceremonies down into winners and losers. Winners, you helped your chances of getting Best Picture and sort of the overall strength of the movie, and losers, you sort of missed out on a couple nominations, and that hurt. So the first winner from the Golden Globes is CODA. It got in for Best Picture. It got Troy Kotsur for Best Supporting Actor, so there's some strength there for acting, but also for the picture. We were concerned for this movie in the sense that we weren't sure how many people were going to see it because it's a smaller movie with not many movie stars, but seems like both in the Critics' Choice and the Golden Globes, it has been seen, it has been well appreciated, and this is one of those movies that is sort of a fan favorite. So the real question was not if the movie was a quality movie or if it wasn't going to resonate. It is going to resonate. The question is who's going to get out on top. Marlee Matlin sort of missing out here was a disappointment. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but it seems like Troy Kotsur has sort of really propelled himself to be the sort of proponent acting figure of CODA, and ultimately I think CODA does have a stronger chance now for getting in for picture. Licorice Pizza, now despite missing on Paul Thomas Anderson for director here at the Globes, it got nominated for Best Screenplay for Paul Thomas Anderson, which is actually his very first Golden Globe nomination, which is kind of crazy to think about. This is an 8-time Oscar nominee. He only just got nominated for the Golden Globes, now his first time. So just from the fact that it got in there, it also got in for picture for Best Comedy or Musical. It got Alana Haim and Cooper Hoffman, so there's some strength there for the movie in general. And actually you may go, it sort of missed out on director, that's a little bit of a disappointment. I sort of counter and go, yeah, but they've never nominated Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread or There Will Be Blood. They've never nominated him at all. So just the fact that he got nominated for screenplay, I think helps his chances in terms of getting a lot of nominations, but particularly I think it's going to win for Best Original Screenplay and finally get sort of Paul Thomas Anderson his first Oscar, starting with getting that first Golden Globe. And then my final winner, I want to mention Kodi, Smit, McPhee. Both this and the Critics' Choice kind of nomination has solidified him as the Power of the Dog actor. We were unsure at the beginning if it was going to be Jesse Plemons or Kodi, and it seems like it will be Kodi. And now the fact that I think that Kodi will get nominated and he is sort of sole representative of that movie I think Power of the Dog is a very well-liked movie and it will be a strong movie, and I think he has a very strong chance of winning for Best Supporting Actor, especially because now we're seeing both Jamie Dornan and Ciarán Hinds get in for Belfast, so they could sort of cancel each other out, leading someone like Kodi, Smit, McPhee to sort of rise. So that was an interesting sort of development, and he's definitely the winner, being the sort of supporting actor of Power of the Dog and knocking off Jesse Plemons. Now into my losers. The big obvious one for the Golden Globes is Nightmare Alley. Didn't get a single nomination, and that hurts, not getting a Del Toro, not getting, the Globes is very much above the line. They're not sort of tech focused as something like Critics' Choice, which is very much, similar to the Oscars in how many categories they have. So missing out on Del Toro for director, not seeing a Cooper, not even a Kate Blanchett for something like acting definitely hurts the film. Maybe there's questions that didn't get it in time and whatnot, and it did do well at the Critics' Choice, so I'm not necessarily knocking the movie. However, the Globes here, not getting in here, definitely I think hurts for the most part, the acting chances, and even someone like Del Toro. Mitchells vs. Machines is another loser, which was a bit of a surprise. It's a delightful movie, one of my favorites of the year. However, it not getting nominated is actually a big sign, not necessarily for it not getting nominated at the Oscars, but for it winning at the Oscars, because no film has ever not gotten nominated at the Golden Globes for Best Animated Feature, and then gone on to win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. The Golden Globes and the Oscars are pretty sort of tied up usual with that. There's always sort of one or two that miss, but for the most part, if you're winning, you'll get nominated at both, and oftentimes you'll win at both. So the Mitchells vs. Machines, I still think it gets nominated at the Oscars, but this, in many respects, maybe have canceled its chances of winning Best Animated Feature. Right now, I think the top slot goes to Encanto. And then finally, Jared Leto, not getting a nomination here. This performance definitely seemed like a Globes performance. Even House of Gucci seemed to be a sort of Globes movie. We've seen Ridley Scott movies like All the Money in the World do well in the past. So Lady Gaga getting in here is good for that movie, but it not getting in for director or picture and drama, that is, and ultimately sort of missing out on Jared Leto, where he puts on, this makeup and is this grand performance. It seems like something that the Globes would sort of recognize and resonate with, because they appreciate those sort of larger performances. I think actually not getting in here, and maybe even not getting in here definitely hurts, because if he did get in here and win and it was televised, that could definitely boost his chances. But right now, I still think he gets in, but he's less of a lock as maybe we thought. Okay, now transitioning into the Critics' Choice reactions. So my first winner goes to Dune. This is a movie that, for the most part, did exactly how I expected, although it did even better than I expected. It got in every single technical category that it could have: production design, cinematography, editing, all of it. Also got for director for Denis Villeneuve, also got in for picture, and I think got the crucial nomination of Best Adapted Screenplay, just showing that while I don't think that's necessarily going to show up in the Oscars, it shows there's a huge amount of support for this movie. It sort of sweep the technical awards, which we expected it to do, and we sort of expected to do it, and we'll sort of continue to do that. So got that, got in for director, got for picture. That was kind of a big thing for me. It was like, is Dune a real serious contender? And yes, it confirmed it. Yes, it is. The other winner I have is Nightmare Alley, which is actually kind of a winner and a loser. It sort of solidified its position in the race to me, which is good and bad, in the sense that this is very much a technical awards appreciation movie. Not getting in for actor or actress or supporting or nothing. Not getting in for best screenplay. That hurts the movie. So it seems not to be like an above the line, more of a below the line. The benefits being it did get in for picture, it did get in for best director, Guillermo del Toro, and it did get in for every single production category, like Dune. So it's telling that they're sort of similar movies. And like I mentioned in my director video, I was a little bit unsure of Del Toro because he's sort of a technical love director, in the same way that Denis Villeneuve is. And that being said, oftentimes, whether it be Sam Mendes for 1917 or Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, we see these directors get nominated and their movies have no acting nominations. And that's kind of a rarity. But it does happen when there's sort of an appreciation for the technical craft, and usually there's only one slot per year. So right now I think Dune getting that adapted screenplay nod just sort of pushes it over the edge versus something like a Nightmare Alley. And I think ultimately this hurts Del Toro's chances, but he still got in for here, and it seems to be that Nightmare Alley will still get multiple technical nominations, and I think maybe still gets in for picture with that extended 10th slot. Another winner is West Side Story. This is a movie that got 11 nominations here at the Critics' Choice Awards, tying for Belfast. So this makes it a serious Best Picture contender. It didn't get in for someone like Rachel Zegler for Best Actress, but she got in for Best Young Actor, so that benefits there. Gets in for screenplay, gets in for cinematography, gets in all the more important technical categories. Also gets Ariana DeBose and Rita Moreno for supporting actress, so that helped the chances that both of them are in the contention and in conversation. It's hard to tell if this is going to be the bona fide Best Picture winner, just because I don't really see an acting corollary in the same way that maybe we do with Belfast. However, I think West Side Story is a serious contender and we should treat it as such. Lady Gaga is another winner. I think getting in at the Globes and getting in here sort of solidified that even though House of Gucci isn't as a well-beloved movie as I predicted all the way back in October, I knew this, I didn't even put in my Best Picture predictions when some people had it at number 3, it's sort of definitely fallen off the map, but Lady Gaga is sort of sticking around, beating out Jared Leto, beating out Adam Driver. She's still there, sort of hanging around, and I think she'll ultimately get with a nomination. However, it's tough right now, but seeing sort of the support there for her, even though the movie didn't get a lot of support, definitely makes me more confident in her. Troy Kotsur, I mentioned earlier, but him getting in here and the Globes, I think definitely boosts his chances for something like SAG. He's someone that we have to consider and always be sort of in contention if we do think CODA is being seen, which it seems like it is. If we do think it's a Best Picture contender, which I do think it is, it's got to be somewhere. So it's going to be picture, probably screenplay, and then is it an actor? That supporting actor category is really up in the air, and I think Troy can snatch it and get in. And then another winner I have here is Jamie Dornan for Belfast. Similarly with Troy Kotsur, sort of we weren't sure what this category is going to be shaping out, and it seems like Dornan is going to be a staple of it. It seems like both him and Ciarán Hinds are being well respected in terms of their roles in Belfast, and both will be nominated. I mean, every year we try to predict what's going to be the sort of dual nominee category, because for the past 5 years now, we've had a nominee either in the supporting categories that has 2 nominations from the same movie, whether it be Joe Pesci and Al Pacino, The Irishman, or Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone from The Favourite. This year, I think most likely going to be Jamie Dornan and Ciarán Hinds from Belfast, although we may even get a West Side Story kind of dual nomination too. It'll be fun to see what happens there. So now transitioning into my losers, my first one is Tragedy of Macbeth. That's the big loser here. There's some concerns, I know, of maybe people not seeing the movie, and I do think it has actually a surprising sort of strong critical reception, whether it be New York Film Critics Circle or National Board of Review or making NBR top films. There was some support from it from the important critical groups. However, it not getting in here for picture, it not getting in for screenplay, I thought was surprising. It not getting in for production design. I mean, these are sort of what I thought were close to lock categories for this movie. It not getting in, I think, is a strong sort of demotion against it. And we know they've seen the movie because it got a cinematography nomination, it got a Denzel nomination, but no McDormand, no screenplay, no production design, no picture. That really hurts the movie, especially when we're talking about 6 nominees in some of these categories. You think Tragedy of Macbeth would sort of slip in. And there wasn't a surprise of a Catherine Hunter kind of a nomination, so that definitely hurts the movie. I still think that this is more of an Oscars movie. I do think that's still a contender for something like Best Screenplay, even production design. However, we have to watch and see. This is still a movie that hasn't been seen by a lot of people. If it does get seen by more people in a sort of a late-breaking race, maybe they'll be seen as geniuses for releasing it this way. The Tragedy of Macbeth right now is on a definite downslope. Titane is another movie that I sort of disappointed. I saw the movie at TIFF and I was very much of the ilk that, okay, this is not a movie that will do very well. It's too strange, it's too weird. And then, it became France's official selection and it was like, okay, well, it has support of France and won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, so it clearly is well respected. Maybe a Julia Ducournau Titane is kind of an international surprise. But right now, it not getting in for the Globes or here for international feature, that definitely hurts its chances. We're seeing no sort of support for Julia Ducournau here in director either, so that hurts it. Similarly to something like Parallel Mothers, in my director video I talked about there's probably going to be one foreign director, whether it be Pavel Balakowski for Cold War a couple of years ago, or last year we had the surprise nomination of Another Round from Thomas Vinterberg. The question is, okay, who's going to be the foreign director this year? And we may not have one, because the sort of 2 candidates that at least I saw was someone like Pedro Almodovar from Parallel Mothers or Julia Ducournau for Titane, neither of which got nominated for Best Director, which I think hurts their chances even in an expanded 6th field. And then both their movies didn't get nominated here at the Critics' Choice Awards for Best Foreign Film. Parallel Mothers did get a couple nominations at the Globe, so I still think it's in conversation, but something like Titane and Parallel Mothers, in terms of a directing nomination, you need the support of critics, of everyone that you can get. That's what happened with Another Round. That's what happened with Cold War. So while they're not totally out and they can still be sort of a late-minute Oscar surprise, those 2 definitely took a hit, and their movies even so, in terms of getting that foreign film nomination. And then into sort of the acting losers, we have Richard Jenkins, or really just the Humans in general. You know, we thought that maybe a couple nominations from the Humans, maybe an adapted screenplay could get it in. You know, for a lot of people coming out of TIFF, Richard Jenkins was the clear frontrunner to win for Best Supporting Actor, and now he may not even be nominated. I think, you know, the Humans, along with something like Mass, you know, in my supporting actor video, I was like, there's going to be one of these sort of smaller movies that gets nominated. I thought it was either going to be the Humans or the Mass, and their sort of supporting roles and their great acting performances that they had. But it seems ultimately like that's not going to happen, that Richard Jenkins, despite being well liked, and I do think he still has a chance, I'm predicting him right now to get a SAG nomination. I am concerned over his chances of getting in, even more so the Humans. It may just get shut out completely, and that leaves Richard Jenkins on the cutting board. Another acting loser I thought was Bradley Cooper, both in the Globes here and at Critics' Choice. He missed out on Nightmare Alley for Best Lead Actor and Best Supporting Actor, Licorice Pizza. That definitely hurts his chances. It seems to be that he's like not too in much of sort of Licorice Pizza, and maybe he's too sort of reserved in Nightmare Alley, so he's kind of splitting his vote there, and he may not get any nominations. I still think he has an outside shot, particularly with the Oscars for the Best Supporting Actor category, just because it's Hollywood, it's John Peters, sort of a late night surprise kind of a situation, and we've seen past sort of surprise winners from someone like a Leslie Manville from Phantom Thread get nominated. So there's a possibility there that I think a late last minute Paul Thomas Anderson nomination gets in for Bradley Cooper, but right now he's on the downslope. And then my final nomination is Marlee Matlin for Best Supporting Actress. She thought maybe she would get in for CODA, but she missed out. Troy Kotsur instead got both nominations in Supporting Actor category, which I think hurts her chances because people are sort of like, okay, let's jump on the Troy Kotsur train. Plus, someone like Rita Moreno is getting buzz and got nominated here for Best Supporting Actress, and the whole deal with Marlee Matlin was she's this past winner, we want to reward her again, but Rita Moreno is also kind of in that same narrative slot. She won even earlier, and maybe we want to reward her again, so that kind of cancels out Marlee Matlin. I don't think that definitely hurts CODA's chances, but it seems like it's going to be CODA, screenplay, and Kotsur, and Marlee Matlin is maybe left on the cutting room floor. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to comment below, let me know your thoughts on the Critics' Choice and Golden Globes, and stay tuned to next week. We're going to be doing more of the breakdown of the categories. But that's about it, guys. Until next time, stay tuned.